Hi everyone, I hope everyone's well. Things are slowly starting to open again. I know restaurants are open and more shops have opened, and things are slowly getting back to, I don't know if you could call it normal, but things are slowly getting back to how they used to be. I know there's still loads more things to happen for us to go back to normal, but we can see that we're heading in the right direction, which is good. Some children have been back at school. Some of you might have gone in. I know at our school we've allowed some of the children who haven't been back at school to come back into a bubble for a few days, and that's been great to have them in. I know in September everyone's going to be back at school again, and hopefully by then we'll be back at church as well. But during this time of everything starting to open and everything starting to go back to, I don't know if this is going to be the new normal or if you can call this normal, but I know during this time there's a lot of worry, a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, because it's the unknown. We've never gone through this before. We don't know about it. No one can tell us what's going to happen. So I know for myself, I've been a bit anxious, a bit worried, and I'm sure, and I know children at school have been the same. And I know some of you might have been worried or concerned. So I thought we could do a little bit of just a bit of a worry discussion, thinking about what might make you worried, talking about a passage that can give you some encouragement, and a bit of an activity that you could do. So I want you to think about, what are your fears about everything opening and maybe going back to school in September and the shops reopening? What are your fears? It could be that you'll miss your family at home because you've had so much time at home. It might be that you might not be able to see your friends in other bubbles when you go back. It all depends what your fears are, and everyone's fears will be different. Some may have a little bit more than others, and that's also okay. So I want you to think about what you're worried about, or your fears about everything starting to go back to normal and schools possibly, well, opening in September. I want us to think about a verse from 1 Peter 5 verse 7. It says, give all your worries to him because he cares about you. So that's just a little reminder that yes, we've got worries, we're human, yes, we've got fears, but in the Bible, in 1 Peter 5 verse 7, it says, give all your worries to him because he cares about you. The little activity you can do with this, it says write down or draw your worries or fears on a piece of paper. So write whatever fear it is. It might not even be something to do with things going back to normal and schools being open. Whatever fear you may have or worry you may have, write them down on a piece of paper and fold them into a paper airplane. If you don't know how to do that, ask your parent or adult or older siblings to help you. And you're going to fold it into a paper airplane, and then you're going to throw it as far as you can. And remember that whenever we are or wherever we are, we can give our worries and fears straight to God. Then another little thing that we could think about is what is going to be different to the normal during this time of everything starting to open, going back to school. So what's going to be different to our normal? So I can say, for one, that at school you are in little bubbles and you're not allowed in other people's bubbles. People have got to stay in their own bubbles. It's a bit more, you've got to keep away from everyone. You've got to keep your distance. You can't have hugs and can't really play it with your friends. You've got to keep your distance from them. And how do you feel about these changes? So also, like at restaurants, you've got to keep, there's only a limited amount of people going to restaurants. I want you to think, how do you feel? How do you feel about all these changes? Okay. And even though all these changes are happening, I want you to remember a verse that's really, really important. Hebrews 13 verse 8. It says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So no matter what is happening around us, no matter what all the changes are going on, Jesus is still the same. He's the same he was yesterday. He's the same that he was before the coronavirus came out. He is going to be the same after everything. So that gives you a little bit of hope and faith, that you know that he's not going to change. He's not going to change like all the things around us in the world are. Okay, and then another thing to ask yourself or think about is, what are you most looking forward to about going back to school in September? If you haven't been back, I know it's still a little way, you've got summer holidays coming up, and but I want you to think, if you're already back at school, that's great, you can still do this activity, but I want you to think about, what are you most looking forward to about going back to school? And remember the verse, Jeremiah 29 verse 11. It says, I have good plans for you, not plans to hurt you. I will give you hope and a good future. So God has a plan for us, even though it might seem a bit strange right now, but there's definitely a plan, and that God's plan is not to hurt us. Okay, so if you are back at school, you can pray for your bubble. You can draw a picture of the people that are in your bubble. If you're not back at school when this happens, you can draw a picture of your class friends. And I'm sure all of you will be going to a new year group. Some of you might be going to secondary school. Some of you might be starting Key Stage 2. Some of you might be starting early years or year 1. So draw a picture of the group of friends in your class and pray for them. And ask God to protect them and help them all to be good friends to one another, and to make sure nobody feels left out, because we don't want that during this time on top of that. So you can maybe it could be like a month thing where you pick one person out of your bubble to pray for each day. You think about, and if you're not at school yet, you can still do this. You can still draw a picture maybe of your family at home and pray for them. Choose one person a day to pray for. So I hope this has encouraged you a little bit, because I know the verses helped me remember and encourage me during this difficult time. And remember to draw your fears. You can do more than one. You can do as many as you like. Draw your fears on a piece of paper, fold them into a paper airplane, and throw them as far as you can. Throw them straight to God, because he's there. He's waiting for our worries and his fears. He doesn't want us to hold on to them. He wants us to let go and give them all to him. And remember, God is the same that he was yesterday. He's the same today, and he will be the same forevermore. Now, I hope you enjoy the rest of the week, and I will see you soon. Bye.